Hello there, my name is John Meyer. I love home studios, and hopefully you can tell by mine that I've put a significant amount of energy and time into making it work for me. And I know there are so many composers and producers and engineers out there like yourselves that have unique needs, and to make studios all look exactly the same would be silly. We need to make them work for us. I took a trip to Nashville last fall and met up with a handful of my friends who are music makers and studio owners, and I was struck by how different each studio was from the next. But today we are looking at the studio of my friend Avery Bright, who is an incredible violinist, violist, that didn't sound right, composer, producer, engineer. I get, we all do all of these things, but the virtuoso string playing is what sets Avery apart from us. For most of you out there, I would steer you away from spending gobs of money on sound isolation, which is different from sound treatment or acoustic treatment like what I've got here. That can be done fairly cheap if you're willing to put the time and energy in. But separating your room from the outside world, that is extremely expensive. And for me, a person who works with mics open a lot of the time, but not all of the time, most of the time I'm in the computer mixing or whatever, if a car drives by, it's not that big of a deal. I just start over. But for Avery, who records violin all day, every day, and has multiple mics close to him and then distant pairs of microphones, if he had to start and stop every second because somebody drove by, well, he would never get anything done. So Avery did it right. And before I let him show you around his studio, I'm going to tease the instrument that we made. It's got some different violin passes. Some are drone-like, some are not drone-like. I'll let you hear it. It might be really good, so check back next week.
A big open space above our garage that is the studio now, but we had built this staircase so we had a separate entrance into the studio. I had a lot of people coming in and out and different times, different parts of the day, and my wife was kind of tired of passing people in the hallway in her slippers with her morning coffee or evening. So up we go. These little guys, these were like a last minute addition. I was like, you know what, maybe kind of nice, like some little lights on the stairs. This is where the magic happens, and what I do refer to as the beach. I left to tell my wife, going up to the beach today. I'll see you later. So I get to work at the beach. Yeah, I'm a violinist and a violist, a string arranger, and the big thing was to get a space that I could record that was quiet. We live in a suburban neighborhood, and the challenge was obviously, recording violin. It was finding a quiet place that doesn't have a lot of extra sound to come in and mess your passes up. So this room and this is the tracking room, the control room are both floating. So you can see there's a little bump up on the floor there where the isolation system starts. They use these little spacers called iso rafts, which basically just space the floor up, by like an inch or inch and a half. There's an air gap with insulation in between the existing subfloor. And it's hard. The walls, the ceiling, everything is floating off of the existing frame, which for sound isolation and noise transfer is a big, big deal. So it's amazing, man. I still get a little bit of low-end rumble, like if a huge truck goes by, but for the most part, I sit right there and play violin pretty much every day, all day, and I never have to stop, which is spectacular. This wasn't a huge space. If I could do it again in a perfect world, maybe I think I would have higher ceilings, but the beauty of this is it's very controlled. I've got most of the hardwoods still exposed, and then we have these diffusers. Along with all the sound absorption panels, there's these diffusion panels in the ceiling, which help to reflect some of the sound back down and really kind of maximize the size of how the space sounds. In my line of work, a lot of my days are spent stacking up parts. So they'll have me arrange strings on a track or whatever it could be, and then I'll play violin 8 times. I'll record the same thing 8 times, using a different sort of mic array and different ways of tracking on each pass, and then you put all those together. It sounds like a string section. So the big thing was, how can I get it to be to sound like a section in a big room? So leaving the hardwoods exposed and having the panels in the ceiling help a lot with sort of emulating a larger room, and it's kind of sounding larger than it really is. So I've loved it, man. It's been amazing. I have a sort of a mic locker out there, but these are kind of my go-tos recently. This is a Schoeps CMC5, so it's a small diaphragm condenser. It's got a wide cardioid capsule on it, and then this is a TF-47 Telefunken tube that sounds great on cello and viola. So then I have a couple room mics. I use some Omnis in the corners, and then I have this Royer SF24. That's a stereo ribbon that I really, really love. The Omnis are a little brighter, obviously, than the ribbons, so I kind of loop those when I send out tracks. I send people close mics and room mic stems. And the room mics are generally a combo of the Omnis and the Royer. That's the headphone system, but honestly, it's more of just a rum shelf right now. I see that. I mean, if you come to the beach, you got to have some rum, right? So, yeah, this is, and I use this on occasion when I record larger sections. I use that, but I have a little 2-channel headphone amp down there that I use 98% of the time when it's just me. So yeah, these rooms are totally isolated though. This is a big glass Pella, like sliding glass door that they brought in, which that was a trip, man. Watching like 4 guys struggle to carry this up and around the corner of the stairs. It was crazy. But they got it in. It works great, man. Shut that. It's not perfect isolation, but when I have an artist or producer over here, man, they can sit here and drink rum while I'm out there working, and not, there's no sound issues. I do mix, and I've mixed quite a lot of stuff at this point, I suppose. But when the designer was trying to figure out the best way to treat this space, I mean, he had this whole room is covered in panels, you know, and at a certain point, it was like, bro, like, where am I going to put like the desk, you know? So we're able to kind of trim down the number of panels and the thicknesses and everything. So we have big bass traps in the corners back here, bass trapping up here as well, and then these ceiling panels, and then the carpet obviously helps a lot. But I have a fairly simple signal chain, you know. I mean, I'm always tweaking, always trying different stuff, but I've kind, you know, the Apollo is sort of my main interface. I generally run the room mics through the Pacifica. And like I said, for my line of work, like mostly I'm stacking stuff up, you know, and I've been really happy with the sounds that's got me. So, sort of recording a string orchestra with one guy, it's kind of a trip. My friend, his name is Daniel Fager, and he has a custom carpentry business called Skykeep Furniture. He's fantastic. He built, this is, what is this? Walnut, gee whiz. So yeah, so this is walnut. He'd gotten a big, huge, like slab of walnut. So he was able to make, like, it's got a big sliding desk on it, or a tray for my keyboard and everything. He built these nice little rack boxes for my monitors just to sit on. So the only thing I wish that would be different on it would be maybe that the some of the chords would have a place to go, which I just need to do a little chord management on my own down there. But it's been amazing, man. I absolutely love it. I have a bunch of different irons in the fire. Mostly my main thing is a session musician. Probably 8 years I've been a full-time session player, which has been great. You know, I play a lot of stuff in town and in Nashville, like in commercial studios there and stuff. And then when I'm not working in town, I'm working here on overdubs and arranging and the string things. So my thing is sort of, I arrange, write, and record strings. And I also do some solo overdubs and whatnot, but I do that, and then I do a little bit of touring here and there when it's the right fit. I also have several licensing things that I do, and artist names, and that I release music under. There's one called Avery Bright, which is me and a guitar player here in Nashville, and we record really fun acoustic covers and originals, and just, you know, strings and guitar, fingerstyle, kind of Chet Atkins kind of stuff. And it's done well on streaming. It's Avery Bright, and then I have my own personal project. It's called Roar, R-O-R-E. That's actually Rure, to be real about it. It's a Norwegian word that it basically just means to like stir or to evoke. But Rure, spelled R-O-R-E. And those are my original songs. So